Have you been diagnosed with low or high FSH and are wondering what to do to regulate, to fix it? I'm sure you know by now that understanding your FSH is crucial when trying to conceive because it plays a significant role in the female reproductive system. For example, FSH is responsible for stimulating the growth of follicles in the ovaries. Today, we're going to learn why it's important that you look into your FSH, how it's affecting your fertility, and what to do to improve it. I'm going to show you exactly what I do with some of the members of my online fertility program so that you can start doing it too and start to improve your FSH. This is what thousands of couples that I have helped have done to have the babies that they've dreamed of over the last 21 years that I've been a fertility expert. To understand FSH, we need to understand how it functions in the body. So first and foremost, what is FSH? FSH is what we call follicle-stimulating hormone. And as the name suggests, FSH is responsible for stimulating the growth of the follicles in the ovaries. Some of you might say the eggs, but the eggs are inside the follicles. And each one of these follicles hopefully contains an egg, but not always. And as the follicles mature, they release a hormone called estrogen. That's right. So your estrogen levels in many ways throughout the follicular phase, and it's called follicular phase because of the follicles growing, is tied to the maturation, the maturity, and the growth of these follicles, which is tied to the FSH stimulating your ovaries to produce or to grow and mature those follicles. And as that grows, as those follicles grow, they get closer to being a mature size to release an egg, which is what happens during ovulation. So this is how FSH functions in the body, okay? And when FSH levels rise, it indicates that the body is preparing to release an egg during ovulation. The other thing that will rise is going to be your estrogen. Your estradiol will also rise as you get closer to ovulation. So even though this video is about FSH, we have to talk about these other hormones in relationship to that so that you can understand the entire picture. What else does FSH do in the body? Well, one of the main reasons we track FSH potentially from cycle to cycle, but hopefully you're not testing it every cycle and throughout a fertility journey, is because FSH specifically helps us understand the quality of a woman's eggs. It's an indicator, and it's a way for us to monitor egg quality. And the higher that number gets, the worse off the quality of the eggs are. And so what's an ideal range or ideal number for FSH? Well, we would ideally like to see FSH between 5 and 10. The caveat to that is that it still has to be looked at in relationship to estradiol and to LH, luteinizing hormone. So we have to look at FSH on its own, but also in relationship to these other numbers. And if everything is balanced and working properly and they're communicating with each other well, then we want to see an FSH between 5 and 10, and that tells us that the egg quality is healthy and good. As that number increases, FSH, beyond 10 and more, then we have concerns over egg quality. We could also have the same concerns of egg quality if that FSH is very, very low. Right? So if we start to see that number, let's just say around 2, that would also be a concern around the quality of the eggs. And all of this is going to impact someone's ability to conceive. It's also, if we're talking about IVF cycles, or IUI for that matter, your FSH levels are going to also impact the type of medication or hormones that are used and the dosages that are given of those hormones. So there's a lot of reason to look at FSH, and if you haven't already tested it, I highly recommend that you do. The other thing that monitoring FSH levels tells us is it allows us to assess ovarian health and function. So what does that really mean? Well, if your FSH levels are abnormal, it can mean that your ovarian function is compromised in some way. And two common ways that we would see, there are two common diagnoses that we would see for that, are going to be polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, or premature ovarian failure, POF. Now, again, we have to look at this in relationship to the other hormones as well. But if your FSH is extremely high and your estrogen is low and your LH is not in relationship one-to-one ratio with your FSH, and maybe also we're looking at your AMH, I know I'm talking about a lot of hormones here, is low, this might be a signal that you might have premature ovarian failure or insufficiency, that your ovaries aren't functioning optimally and creating enough eggs or enough healthy eggs at an appropriate age, right? So if you're somewhere between 20 and 35 or 38 and you're having those lower numbers in terms of reserve or higher FSH numbers, that could absolutely be a sign that there's something going on with your ovarian function. It needs more support for you to be successful in conception. On the contrary, if your FSH and LH ratio is off by greater than 2-to-1, and we're seeing that maybe your AMH is elevated and you've got some other symptoms, then this could also be a sign of what we call polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, that your ovaries aren't functioning properly, but they're creating too many small immature follicles, too many small immature eggs. And so that can be a concern for having a regular cycle, ovulating properly, being able to conceive appropriately, and maintaining a healthy pregnancy. So these are all reasons why we need to check FSH and understand how they're impacting what's going on for you. Did you know what FSH was? Did you understand how it functions in the body and how it impacts your reproductive function? I want to hear from you. Comment below and let me know the answer to that. Did you or didn't you? And on top of that, do you have questions about FSH or other hormones or your fertility that you want my support on? Comment below and let me know. Now, if you find out that your FSH is not functioning properly, then what can you do naturally to improve it, to impact it? Well, there's a lot of things that you can do. I suggest, I'm going to go through a list right now, but I suggest before you start going through all of these things, I want you to assess your personal life and prioritize the top 3 things that I'm going to review that you can start to incorporate or start to change and improve. So it doesn't mean that you can't look at all of these variables. I hope you do, but I want you to prioritize the top 3 by looking at your own health and life to know which one's the most important. So the first thing that I think we need to all look at is maintaining a healthy weight. We aim to have a proper healthy BMI. And if your BMI is too high and you're obese, or it's too low, you're underweight and you're not getting enough nourishment and nutrients, these 2 variables can absolutely impact your FSH. So which one are you? Are you right in the middle and this is not anything for you to worry about? Or are you on one of these spectrums, one of these ends, right? Too high or too low? And you need to spend a little bit more time on that. How are ways, or what are ways that you can help to manage your overall healthy and maintain a healthy weight? Well, that comes back to eating a balanced diet, which is the second thing. We need to make sure that we're focusing on a balanced diet that's full of nutrient-rich foods that includes a good variety of fruits, of vegetables. I'm really big on vegetables. Some good healthy proteins. We don't get enough protein. We don't eat enough calories. Good quality fats as well. These are all things that we need to incorporate into our diet to not only have a healthy diet, which we all need, but also to help us maintain a healthy weight. So those are the first 2 things that I want you to think about. The third thing, and this could even be at the top of the list, is managing your stress. There is a considerable amount of research that shows how negatively stress impacts all of our health, including our reproductive health and our hormones. FSH is directly impacted by stress, and your cortisol levels can interfere with proper healthy FSH production because of the way where cortisol is produced in the adrenal glands and where FSH is produced in the hypothalamus and pituitary. So they all communicate, that will impact it. I see this routinely over and over and over again. When we get someone whose health is functioning properly, everything's doing well, hormones are fine, stress increases, then we see a change in their cycles. We also see FSH rise, and then they wonder what's going on. So stress is absolutely something that needs to be managed properly for all of you and looked at seriously. So what can you do to manage your stress better? Exercise, yoga, meditation, deep breathing. These are all things and tools that I think you all can do. But I would also encourage you to look at your personal life and what you enjoy doing, like hobbies, those are also ways for you to help manage your stress. Another way, which is number 4, is making sure that you get good quality, healthy sleep. We need a minimum of 7 hours, and I prefer 8 to 9 on a regular basis with good quality sleep. So you have to create a good sleep environment and good sleep patterns and hygiene, because this is one of the most important things that is going to cause more stress or make your stress more difficult to manage and will impact your hormones, and in this case, FSH. The next one is limiting your exposure to environmental chemicals and toxins. These are called endocrine disruptors for a reason, because they disrupt your endocrine system. Your hormones and your FSH are part of that system, and they are going to be impacted negatively by these chemicals. So make sure you take inventory of your home, your work environment, your outside of those environments as well, your car, and make sure they are not creating more harm to your health and your fertility than they need to. So make sure that you're trying to clean up all of those areas as much as you can as well. The next thing that I think we all need to look at and hopefully improve, hopefully actually you don't need to improve it, but I know many of you are drinking too much caffeine and too much alcohol. We need ways to cope and manage our health and our days. And so if you're not getting enough sleep, you've got a lot of stress, odds are you're drinking more caffeine to have energy. And at the end of the day, to manage your stress, you're drinking some alcohol. Maybe you're smoking some pot, whatever it might be, to help manage these things. We need to find different ways for you to manage those things. And if you're managing your stress better, you're getting good quality sleep, you're going to feel better. You need less caffeine, and for sure you need less, recreational drugs, right? Like alcohol and marijuana. So I want to encourage all of you to reduce those things as much as possible. Take them in moderation, hopefully with the marijuana, alcohol, none at all. And you are finding other ways to enjoy life and manage your stress. One of those ways is the next one, which is having regular exercise. I do believe that if we are incorporating regular exercise, you're going to have a good, healthy release of endorphins, which is what we all want, which often happens when we're drinking that caffeine or when we're having that alcohol. There's other ways for you to do it. So I want you to exercise regularly to not only improve blood circulation and be fit and healthy, because exercise is valuable and important for everything, but also to help with managing the reduction of some of the things that you need to limit for your health. What is the last thing that you can be doing, or the last thing we're going to talk about in this video, that you can be doing to improve your FSH and all of your hormones and your fertility? All of you always ask me about taking supplements and vitamins. There's definitely a fair amount of them that are out on the internet that can or speak about improving your fertility. And they absolutely can. Many of them can. I think overall we need to be careful about which ones we choose, which is why I've teamed up with a group of amazing individuals to create a line of fertility supplements specifically for all of you and to improve egg quality and ovarian function. And so Rejuva is the line of supplements that we've created to do this. And I want to invite you to check them out. All you have to do is use the link in the description below, or you can just head on over to getrejuva.com. So if you want to go deeper into your fertility, find the root cause that's not allowing you to get pregnant, then be sure to fill out the application with the link in the description below to speak to a real person on my team who can help identify if this is going to be the right next step for you on your fertility journey, and see if we can help you by joining the Hope Fertility Program. Now, I have created a series of videos to help you keep learning, so make sure you check those out using the link down below as well. And until the next video, stay fertile.